Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright, people. Midweek report time. Now, there's been... The main news that's broke over the last few days has been the Anthony Joshua deal, and obviously Tyson Fury gave a recent interview where he was talking about just basically how much he'd be willing to fight Alexander Usyk for, his future plans, and if he's going to vacate the WBC World Heavyweight title. In terms of other news, there's been a few here and there. Not a crazy amount, but obviously we have a fight up this weekend, which is a great fight, by the way, which is Joe Smith Jr., Artur Beterbiev. I'm going to preview that in this video as well, just to get it out there. But I think we shall start with the Julius Francis, the knockout punch he delivered there yesterday, or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. And just my stance on, my 2 cents on it. Now, Julius Francis, former British heavyweight champion, I believe he was, or was he just British heavyweight contender? I don't remember if he was champion or not. I know he fought guys like Danny Williams, Mike Tyson, Klitschko, Axel Schultz, European level fighter. And towards the end of his career, he started losing a lot. He became a journeyman. But he works as security guard at Box Park. I've never been. It's in the Wembley kind of arena of London. I've never been to it. I have seen pictures of it. It looks absolutely amazing. I mean, I can only imagine going to see, like, not literally going to see a game, but like a big game for England or someone like that, and watching it in there. It must be good fun. Maybe someday I'd love to see it. But he's been working there as a security guard, and a group of youths were basically heckling the security, and by all accounts they were heckling customers as well. And Julius Francis, I believe, if you're a security guard, a bouncer, etc., if you believe you're under reasonable threat, as far as I was aware, you were allowed to act accordingly. And that's exactly what he did. And bizarrely, people, the overwhelming majority were for Julius Francis. Some people were saying, how dare he strike someone? It's like, mate, if someone is hurling abuse at you, spitting at you and squares up violently to you, I mean, what do you expect he's going to do? Just say, let's sit down, have a cup of tea and chat like gents. Yeah, because that's how we do it. Not in this world. But the CEO, Roger Wyatt, actually came out and said, woke up to a viral story about one of our security team. Julius Francis is an ex-UK heavyweight boxing champion. He's one of the nicest people I have ever met and helps train young, underprivileged boxers in his spare time. My understanding is that Julius and our security team spent 15 minutes stopping this man and his friends from abusing, spitting, and hitting our customers and staff. They carefully escorted them from the premises under constant violence. Finally, the person approached Julius in a confrontational manner, and he defended himself accordingly. Acts of violence or abuse to any member of staff should never be tolerated. How would you react if someone approached you violently? What would you do next if you were in his shoes? Spot on. And thankfully I see today, I'll get this quote here, I believe the police said that there'll be no further, yes, they've confirmed that they will be taking no further action, nor should they, against Julius Francis' KO incident after reviewing all the parties involved and the CCTV. So Julius Francis, I mean, I'd known of him, I hadn't thought of him in many, many years, but yes, I have seen him fight before. I've seen the highlights of his fights anyway, and obviously Mike Tyson. So that was a weird one. I mean, 20 million views that clip got. Crazy. Absolutely crazy amount of views that clip got. In terms of the news today, it's a weird one, right? So I had a few people message me actually today. Some on Discord, I still use Discord the odd time, and some on Twitter saying that the July 2nd card was off, and I was like, course it was. They just said the July 2nd card was off. I was like, course it was. It's a Frank Warren card, what do you expect? Then I find out it's not, that's full steam ahead. Joe Joyce still doesn't have an opponent announced at the time of recording, which is a bit annoying, although saying that, like, we're a little over 2 weeks away. It's going to be nobody particularly good. It wouldn't shock me if it was Big Daddy Brown, to be honest with you. It would not shock me at all at this stage. But the fight that's being postponed is the boxer card on July 2nd, which was meant to feature Huey Fury versus Michael Hunter due to an illness. Fury, and there's an illness on Fury's behalf. So they haven't specified the illness. It's a strange one. Obviously, if it was the Holocaust, they'd obviously announce it. But they haven't specified this one. It says Fury has staged a training camp in Cannes, France. I'm saying that name wrong. Had been attempting to train throughout the illness, but his father and trainer Peter Fury made the decision to suspend camp to allow his son time to recover. On behalf of myself and my son, we apologise to the fans, most of all Hunter and his team, because like us, they've gone through a hard camp and the news is the last thing anyone in boxing wants to hear. Huey struggled on throughout the illness, but physically broke down. We look forward to rescheduling the fight as it's a great fight, for both me and for the fans around the world. Once again, we apologise to anyone involved, but health is paramount in boxing. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they announced even an undercard for that fight yet. Huey Fury is a fighter who has had many issues with illness, it has to be said, over the years. I know that was the thing with the acne, and he did have a lot of acne. I think he still has it. Maybe still has it. It might be this, you never know. But he had issues with that before. And if you remember, some of the weights Huey Fury came in were quite bizarre, because there were times, and Huey Fury is one of them fighters where he's in shape. So when I say like there's a big discrepancy from this fight to this fight in terms of weight, it's not like Huey Fury is, got a gut in that fight and doesn't have a gut in the other. No, he looks pretty in shape in most of his fights. But some of the fights he's been in like the 230s, low 240s, and then been in I think he was in the 210s for the Povetkin fight, or maybe it was a different fight, but I know it was recent enough over the last few years he was in the 210s. And some have speculated that maybe that's one of the reasons, one of the illnesses, that he just tends to just shed the weight off. I don't know. At the end of the day, I was looking forward to that fight. I was a bit kind of peeved in a sense of that it would be on the same night as the Joe Joyce card, and I was like, because I like the Hunter fight, I really do, but hey, look, we're here we are. In terms of other news, I will talk a bit more about the AJ situation. I'll also talk about the Tyson Fury situation, but let's have a quick preview. Let's have a quick preview of the top rank card that's happening in the Garden this coming Saturday. Artur Beterbiev, Joe Smith Jr. Honestly, people, part of me thinks we're going to see carnage in this fight. I really do think that there's a good chance we could. But when you're dealing with two guys who are tremendous punchers, and both guys are tremendous punchers. I mean, Beterbiev, Smith probably is more explosive out of the two. Whereas Beterbiev, I think he just carries that tutting power consistently. One of the hardest punchers, probably pound for pound, in the sport of boxing. But both guys have been stopped in their careers. Both guys have been hurt in their careers. Beterbiev has been down in his career. And I wonder, would both guys go in there, certainly maybe for the first few rounds, very wary of what the other guy brings to the table? Would that be a possibility? I don't know. If they both go at it in the middle of the ring, I mean, I have to favour Beterbiev. You just have to. I mean, he's just more proven amateur and as a pro than Joe Smith. He just is. I know you could say Beterbiev's resume is not the strongest as a pro. He's got some good wins in there. Smith's win against Vlasov was a good win, although it was a bit disputed. But I just can't. I think Beterbiev, he's 37 now apparently though, isn't he? I think he is. So if Beterbiev is going to, at that age, at light heavyweight, you can't expect to grow old overnight. And if you look at his fight if you look at his last two fights, like he fought that Adam Deanish guy about March last year. And yeah, he got the guy out of there. And he beat him pretty much from pillar to post. But he looked very much like he was forcing his work in there. Very much in that fight. Against Marcus Brown, he looked better. I think that one of the issues he was having with Brown was I think he needed to adjust to the speed of Marcus Brown, because Marcus Brown is quite fast for a light heavyweight. But once he adjusted, he broke Marcus Brown down steadily. Like he broke that boy down. He really did. Against Smith, I mean, Smith is just physically very strong. May even be stronger than Beterbiev. Beterbiev is a unit at light heavyweight. And Smith has tremendous, probably the biggest puncher that Beterbiev has been in there with. will be Joe Smith. And I know Callum Johnson has good punching power, but I think Joe Smith potentially has better. And Joe Smith, you see, when Callum Johnson fought Beterbiev, he said it by his own, and you could see it. It was clear as day to see he froze. The minute he dropped him, didn't know what to do. And you could see that. I don't think he really expected to drop Beterbiev, because I think he had a hard first two. I think it was the third or fourth round. And you could see instantly when he dropped Beterbiev and Beterbiev got back up. Beterbiev was hurt bad. And Johnson was just like a fish out of water. What do I do? Like what do I do? Gave Beterbiev a chance to recover, and Beterbiev took Johnson out. Smith is a good finisher. Very good finisher. Very prolific finisher. If he hurts Beterbiev, he is going for... In terms of the undercard, it's actually an interesting undercard. Rabisi Ramirez, getting a lot more impressed with him. Very much. He's getting better. He's really improving. He had a real rocky start to his pro career. Beat Shakur in the Olympic finals. And had a really rocky start to his pro career. He's getting much better now. He's fighting Abraham Nova, who's an undefeated fighter, 21-0. I'm going to have that. I'll have some of that. Wendy Trishanti, 13-1. An American 154-pounder. Got a win over Charles... Oh, no, actually, sorry. He lost to Charles Conwell back in 2020. I was wondering about that. I was like, what? He won? No, he didn't. He was stopped by him. And that was in the 9th round. He was fairly beaten in that. But he's fighting Asinia Byfield. Hadn't seen much of Asinia Byfield over the last few years. He's really not done well since he got a win over Sam McNiss. I remember this fight well in 2017. McNiss was undefeated at the time, and he beat the living crap out of Sam McNiss in this fight. And Sam McNiss was wrote off after that fight. I don't think he boxed again after that. And then he had a win over Gorby Gorbich. He's a durable journeyman. He normally goes the distance. Stopped him. Fought Ted Cheeseman. Completely just bullied by Cheeseman. And then he's only had one win since then. He's had one win in 4. He's had a loss, a draw, and a loss. And the loss was to a guy, Ismail Ivy, 12-2. The draw was against the guy, 19-13. I mean, that's really not good. You're drawing. And then he lost the UD. But looks the scorecard is competitive enough last year to a guy who was 9-0 with 1 draw. So Byfield, I don't know. He always looked alright, certainly 5 years ago, but God knows what he's looking like now. Jay Tucker versus Andre Smith. There's a fight here which is at super welterweight. Jay Brown versus Keane McMahon. Keane McMahon's from Dublin. And 7-2. I've seen Keane McMahon fight. He's pretty garbage. I can't see him doing anything. Probably going to get taken out in this fight, but he's game. He comes to fight. But I mean, if you've ever seen Keane McMahon fight, he does a good job of basically being a human heavy bag. That's probably the nicest way I'd put it. No disrespect to the guy, but I mean, I can't see him getting anything out of this fight other than a beating. So that's the card. In terms of Beterbiev Smith, I've got to go with Beterbiev. I just have to. He's more proven. I think that, yes, he's at that age now where anything could happen. He could grow old overnight. And he's been pro nearly 10 years. All right, he'll have been pro 9 years come the time. Well, actually, yeah, exactly 9 years pretty much. 17 fights in 9 years, although he's done a good bit in him. Got the win over Vodcek, unified. In fact, Vodcek's definitely the best name on his resume. But long stretches of inactivity, held up by promotional issues with Ivan Michel. I think that he could have really done something serious at light heavy without any of them issues. So he could have gone on a massive tear at light heavyweight without any of them issues. But I think he'll beat Joe Smith Jr., which will just leave Dimitri Bivol. And speaking of Bivol, who's Bivol fight on? Bivol fights on DAZN, who's recently been announced as DAZN's long-term signing and has also signed a special advisory role and brand ambassador with shareholders. Anthony Joshua, he really is planning for the future with that. I mean, it's one thing just to sign the long-term deal, and I mean, the long-term deal itself is going to set him up for the future, but he really is planning for it after. I mean, getting shareholders in DAZN. And look, I just got to go into what I'm saying now. The DAZN are doing pay-per-views. Obviously, the whole moniker was end of pay-per-views. Didn't happen. As I said in the video I did about Anthony Joshua at the start of this, it was inevitable, really, when you think about it. You know, fighters, no disrespect to them, but Demetrius Andre, Jesse Vargas, fighters who are not gonna put butts in seats, who are not gonna make vast sums of money in terms of, for the promoter and the broadcaster, were being paid vast sums of money, and the DAZN were admitting, like they said, Eddie Hearn even said at the start that they will take losses for the first, I think he said first year or two. Obviously, that's gone on longer than that. We know that Blavatnik, I think is how you say his name, had to bail them out, or had to not bail them out, sorry, had to put money into the DAZN. So obviously this is a knock-on effect of everything. If the DAZN could get more sports, boxing is mainstream, but sports that are more mainstream, if you know what I mean, in a sense of, you know, some of the top sports in the UK, like obviously football would be just a real game changer for the DAZN. I mean, that would just shoot the subscriber base up to the roof. Darts would help, as I've said several times. F1 on the DAZN, I would love it. I would love it if F1 would be on the DAZN. Not just because I'm an F1 fan, but the product on Sky has got progressively worse over the last few years. It's never been the best, the Sky team with F1. Martin Brundle is brilliant. I love him. Since I was a kid, I've liked Martin Brundle. But the rest of them, some are alright, some are real meh. And yeah, it's got worse and worse. So if the DAZN could take that on, I mean, obviously I love F1. A lot of people like F1. That would be brilliant for them. In terms of just the whole AJ thing, yeah, I see why they're doing it. And obviously the pay-per-view, I wonder what way they're going to do it. What way are they going to do it with regards to people who already have a subscription to the DAZN? People like me and you, are we going to get a special price? Are we going to get it, like, say for argument's sake, 10, 15 quid, where people who aren't subscribed to the DAZN will have to pay 25 quid? I think the DAZN would be missing the trick if they didn't get 25 quid if you're not a subscriber, but you also get a 3-month subscription on top of that. Because I don't think the DAZN are all about getting subscriptions at the end of the day. I don't think they're going to just chuck an event on the level of this. There you go, there's a once-off payment, now go on, see you later. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to look to get these guys in and at least have them on some type of deal. So you are signing up to get this pay-per-view, but you're also getting the DAZN 3-month subscription. Would they be willing to offer them reduced rates for the first 3 months as well on subscriptions? You know, as we all know, when the DAZN came along first, there wasn't that much boxing on it, but it was 2 quid. I mean, you could not complain. It is dearer now, but like 2 quid, would they do so? Would it be that low? Maybe it wouldn't be that low, but I wonder would they do something? Because at the end of the day, if you think about it like this, you're kind of giving a bit to everyone. If you think about it, if they reduce the price for people who've already had a subscription, it's not too bad. If you give people the option to buy this pay-per-view and then a 3-month subscription at a reduced price, you're kind of giving a little bit to everyone. I don't know how financially feasible that would be, but it might help. You never know. One thing, I think it was a Chris Andre who mentioned that the DAZN in the UK, and the same here, is still not available in a lot of bars. Now, with a fight of this magnitude, that's going to be a problem. Because having the DAZN in pubs when you want to watch a big fight, or you want to watch any fight, like, every pub has Sky. I would argue that pretty much every pub in the UK and Ireland, unless you're talking about a real old lad's pub, a real granddad's pub, where they don't even like having the TV on, then they all probably have Sky. Or have Sky Sports. In which case they could just switch it on. There you go, there's the football, there's the boxing, etc, etc. With the DAZN, you could go in there if they don't have it and say, can we watch the fight that's on, the Conor Benn fight? What station is he on? The DAZN. The what? Or what is it my friends call it? DAZN. A lot of them call it that. They always say to me, like, have you watched DAZN lately? I'm like, what are you on about? Like, the DAZN one, not DAZN. It doesn't even look like DAZN. I don't even know where they get that from. Obviously, I don't know. It's just, where do you get the DAZN from? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just on a postcard for that one. But I think the DAZN need to get that into pubs. Or pubs need to get the DAZN, whichever. But that would help, definitely. In terms of other news, Errol Spence pleaded guilty to driving under the influence in 2019, received a 3-day sentence, but given credit for the 3 days time served. Statement: Errol Spence said, "Don't drink and drive, not one drink, it's not worth it." And my good lord, was he a lucky boy. He was as lucky as you want to get. Because I've said it once, I'll say it again. That crash was so violent that the fact he walked away is a miracle in of itself. But the fact that he walked away, and not only that he's able to box, but the fact he's still able to hold his kids, he should thank God no end. Obviously God had plans for him, because that was violent. I mean, how in God's name he went away from that without any major injuries? Yeah, he had a few injuries, yeah, of course, but nothing major. Thank God. Floyd Mayweather will have an exhibition in Japan in a to-be confirmed date against Makura Asakura. Who the hell is he? A Japanese MMA fighter who also has a popular YouTube channel in his home country. Right. At the end of the day, Floyd knows what he's doing. He's making money from these. He's taking the you-know-what with them in terms of he's actually doing it in the ring. But he's thinking, hey, I'm getting the bag, so why not? In terms of other news, I want to leave the Fury stuff till last. The Tyson Fury stuff till last. John Fury is confirmed they're in talks for a potential fight with Tommy and Jake Paul August the 6th in MSG. Interesting. Just from a theatrical entertainment point of view, I don't mind that fight. Like, some people are really like, it's a terrible, oh my god, like it's I don't really mind it too much, like, to be honest with you. I mean, like, it's a bit of fun, it's a bit of a laugh. Like, Tommy Fury is not really, he's not going to do much in boxing. I mean, this could be a bit of fun. They're both similar level. Seriously, like, it could be a bit of a laugh. And, like, at the end of the day, as I was talking just about the zone and it not being in pubs and, you know, needing eyes on the sport. Look, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, I get that, but eyes on the sport of boxing is eyes on the sport of boxing. It needs it. Boxing needs eyes on the sport. They need it. It's just, there's no ifs or buts. We need eyes on the sport of boxing. So hopefully that can get more eyes on it and get boxing in people's mouths more. Fingers crossed. You never know. Strange things have happened. Tyson Fury has now claimed he wants £500 million. Yes, £500 million, he told TalkSport, to come out of retirement to fight Alexander Usyk if he beats Anthony Joshua. If he beats Joshua again, what you got to do is get $500 million, and the Gypsy King will come out and solve all his problems for him. I'm assuming he was being sarcastic when he said that, because that is just never gonna happen. 500 million. Unless Elon Musk's decide, I don't quite fancy, or actually, do you know what, I'll have both. He can probably do both, to be honest with you. I'll get Twitter and I'll just give Tyson Fury his purse because I want to see this fight. Can't see him doing that, to be honest with you, but stranger things have happened, as I just said. But 500 mil, crazy. Obviously that's just a number he's just chucking out there. He's obviously 500 mil. Tyson Fury was also asked if he'd vacate the WBC title. No, I'm not going to give it up because I've got 12 months. I'll just keep it as long as possible. I'll keep that in my pocket as long as I want. I'm not holding this division up because I own it. This is my division. Right, and you know something, the WBC will give Fury as long as he wants. Fury is not retired. I know they're saying it and all, and Tyson Fury's retired, he did this, that, and the other. I don't buy that for a second. And you know something, I reckon if AJ beats Usyk, he will be straight looking for. He's always strikes me that, just judging by what he's been saying, he is looking and hoping that Anthony Joshua beats all. He might turn around and say AJ's a dosser, he's this, that, and the other, but I think deep down, probably even just subconsciously and consciously as well, just not saying it, he wants AJ to beat Usyk because he obviously feels that there's more money in the AJ fight. He's going to have more get up and go for the AJ fight because AJ and him have had back and forths over the years, you know, many years now, stemming back to when they sparred. That was back in 2011, I think it was. So for him, obviously, he'll be able to get more up for the AJ fight. Against Alexander Usyk, I can't see him getting up for that, and maybe he just thinks, right, if I'm going to have to fight Usyk, you're going to have to pay me what you would have paid me for AJ and the rest. I can imagine potentially that's looking what it's like. Because to be honest with you, I mean, like, if he seriously, I'm sure he's jokingly said $500 million or $500 million, because seriously. he did also say, this was actually because him and Frank Warren did an interview yesterday, and he was quoted on this saying that he's considering coming back to fight Alexander Usyk if he beats Anthony Joshua again. I'm a prize fighter, but it's going to cost. If you want me to do a mission on this middleweight, I'll show you what a real heavyweight does. Right. You know, again, like, from the way Fury spoke about Usyk, and understand what I'm saying, I'm not saying he's afraid of Usyk or he fears Usyk or he's trying to duck Usyk in the sense of that he's afraid of him. I'm just saying that I don't think he wants to fight Usyk because he's just not up for it. I'm sure he looks at Usyk again and just thinks, and what, you're a cruiserweight, I can beat you pretty easily. Now Anthony Joshua, I can beat him pretty easy too, but he's peeved me off. He said I can't do this and I've done it. He's gone back and forth with me. So was his promoter. Yeah, I want this fight. Big fight for the UK. Yeah, I want this fight. Against Usyk, I'm sure he's looking at it and thinking, why? You know, and obviously that's not what I want. I'd love to see him fight either. You know, I want undisputed. I just, the Usyk fight for me, holy mother of God, that fight's interesting. At this point now, even if AJ beats Usyk, I'd pick Fury over him. Fairly straightforward enough, actually. I'd pick him over him. Usyk, I'd still pick Fury over Usyk, but that's a tricky fight. Very, very tricky fight. Make no mistake about that. So I think that's pretty much most of the news we got over the last few days, unless I'm missing anything. Obviously, the big news today was the whole Parker was the whole Huey Fury, the other guy Michael Hunter, that fight being canned. Other than that, there wasn't really much else. So I think we'll call it there from Midweek Report. I have some other stuff planned. As I said, the reason why I'm not getting to the Joe Smith Beterbiev, I'm doing it in this video, is because I've got not a documentary, not yet. I'm going to get that uploaded the week I'm away, because obviously I have to record a backlog for that week, because the last time I went to London, I think the first time I went there it was fine, but the last time I went there wasn't too straightforward to upload, because the Wi-Fi in both the hotels I stayed in was about as useful as, you know, it was like Wi-Fi you'd get God knows where. I mean, it was horrible. It was Wi-Fi you get up in the Highlands of Scotland. Where's Scotland? That's kind of what it was like. It was just horrible. So wait and hold out for that. But I've got videos planned this week, which I think you might like. And I'm trying to get as much into them as I can. Hence the reason why I've had not much time to, as with most other things, not much time to get the Joe Smith Jr. prediction out. But I am looking forward to that fight. I don't think we're doing a watch along for that, but we'll see. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Little under 300 subs off 8k. Let's hit it. Let's do it in the next 6 weeks if we can. Of course we can. Easy work. I'll talk to you. Peace.